goodbyes. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. And so we'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals. And we'll spend part of the show opening a space for contemplation and awe. We'll perform a soundscape of gentleness, of reflection, of delight, and maybe of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. So perhaps we might acknowledge their journey with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the Windswept Helmet Orchid. The Windswept Helmet Orchid is a critically endangered flowering plant native to Australia in the state of Tasmania, specifically Macquarie Island in the far southwest Pacific. Its scientific name is Corybas dienemus, and it was first described in 1993. The Windswept Helmet Orchid is a small orchid, growing only about 1.5 inches tall. They have a very short stem and grow just a single fleshy rounded leaf, about 3/4 inch in diameter, with a dark green upper side and a pale silvery green underside. The Windswept Helmet Orchid grows just a single, very unusual looking flower with translucent green and purple reddish coloring, roughly 1 inch wide and 1 inch tall. The flower has a wide, elongated upper sepal. Sepals are the outermost, generally green, petalish, leafish structure at where the flower meets its stalk. And in the case of the Windswept Helmet Orchid, the upper sepal, the dorsal sepal, grows over the top of the flower. This is the helmet that gives the plant their name. The orchid also grows 2 upward pointing lateral sepals, which are very thin, wiry, kind of antenna-looking structures, each roughly 1 inch in length. The flower is very strange looking, kind of snail-like or alien, and oddly beautiful. The Windswept Helmet Orchid is deciduous, and they shed their single leaf each winter to conserve energy. They also have robust storage tubers among their underground root system that provide sustenance throughout the harsh winter and provide energy for new growth in the springtime. In the spring, in September and October here in the Southern Hemisphere, new leaves emerge from underground. And then in late spring, early summer, individuals produce their single flower. The windswept helmet orchid reproduces both sexually and asexually. So sexually, the flowers are monoecious, having both male and female reproductive structures. And recent research suggests the flowers are pollinated by small fungus gnats, believed to be attracted to the flower's color and shape, which may mimic the appearance of fungi or decaying organic matter. And so these fungus gnats get a dusting of pollen, which they then transfer to another individual, cross-pollinating. Following pollination in late summer and autumn, this is January to April, the flower develops into a small capsule fruit. And the usually low-lying plant rapidly grows a longer stalk, up to an additional 3 inches in height, lifting the seed capsule above the surrounding mosses and grass to help facilitate seed distribution via wind dispersal. The windswept helmet orchid also reproduces asexually, cloning itself, producing small colonies of individuals that share identical genetics. This vegetative reproduction works like this. The base of the quote-unquote mother will send out horizontal stems, these runners called stolons, at or just beneath the soil surface. And then at points along the stolon, new daughter tubers grow. These are thick nutrient storage roots that then separate off and can grow into a new independent plant. And while this does not ensure genetic diversity, vegetative reproduction does allow the windswept helmet orchid to spread, increasing their overall population, extending survival, and increasing the likelihood of potential sexual reproduction in the future. Studies have shown that some colonies of windswept helmet orchid have persisted for multiple decades. In the dream, a winter drowsing, an ancient patience with the long dark quiet, a cold that softly holds the promise of a warming spring. And then, invisibly at first, that stillness shifts. The wind rests. Snow thins, the bog thaws, brittle ice is soothed. And the gears that govern the time-worn compromise between life and sleep and death tick another notch. And visibly now, the stillness shifts. The shearwater returns, the shadows shorten, the sea cow moans out her pup, and new shoots push up through the softening soil. Today an empty slate, tomorrow flecked with green extreme. The Windswept Helmet Orchid is native to Australia's Macquarie Island, a remote, far southerly island in the southwest Pacific Ocean, governed by the state of Tasmania, located roughly 1,000 miles south of the mainland and 1,000 miles north of Antarctica. This is a sub-Antarctic tundra bioregion with a maritime climate of cool temperatures, regular precipitation, and very strong winds. Macquarie Island is only 20 miles long and 3 miles wide. The landscape is rugged and rocky, with low-growing vegetation and a central plateau pocked by deep glacial valleys. This plateau rises about 1,300 feet above sea level with steep cliffs at the coast. And our windswept helmet orchid is found on these lower coastal terraces, only about 100 feet above sea level, in damp peat bogs with a water table close to the soil surface. The climate is very cool year-round. Summer highs average in the low 40 degrees Fahrenheit, winter lows in the teens. Annual precipitation averages approximately 40 inches, but with rain or snow occurring roughly 300 days a year. Strong westerly winds are also consistent throughout the year. The windswept helmet orchid shares their sub-Antarctic island home with brown skua, button fern, gray-headed albatross, Antarctic bedstraw, tussock grass, southern rockhopper penguin, Antarctic tern, elephant seal, king penguin, willow herb, scooty shearwater, shield fern, wandering albatross, blue petrel, club moss, New Zealand pennywort, fur seal, alpine water fern, buttercup, kelp gull, royal penguin, Gentoo penguin, water chickweed, shore stonecrop, and many, many more. Historically, human-introduced invasive species have directly impacted the windswept helmet orchid's population, as well as contributed to the general degradation of their habitat. Rabbits, brought to the island as a food source for humans over 200 years ago, rapidly multiplied and expanded. Their overgrazing affected plant populations throughout the island, and their burrowing undermined the root systems of native vegetation, which in turn accelerated erosion. And so in the early 2000s, the Australian and Tasmanian governments initiated an eradication program to clear the island of rabbits, rats, and mice. And in 2014, after 7 years of effort, the program was declared a huge success, clearing over 150,000 invasive rabbits and rodents. And there has been significant recovery of native vegetation since. A 2024 Australian Department of Climate Change report comments, quote, "With grazing pressures removed, the island is returning to its former lush, green, glory." End quote. And so today, the main threat to the windswept helmet orchid is human-induced climate change. A 2025 study showed significant shifts in weather patterns on Macquarie Island since the 1970s. Key weather systems have moved southward, resulting in stronger, more frequent winds and an increase in the frequency and severity of cyclone storms. And so the island has seen an increase in annual precipitation, particularly in winter. But despite this increased precipitation, the windier weather is also increasing surface evaporation, especially in the summer. So overall, the windier, drier conditions have resulted in a kind of drought. Studies have shown that from roughly 1995 to 2012, there was not enough water available to the native vegetation, resulting in significantly noticeable mortality across plant species. Fortunately, the windswept helmet orchid has been legally protected since 2009. Their entire habitat falls within the protected Macquarie Island Nature Reserve and World Heritage Area. Macquarie Island was first declared a protected wilderness in 1933. Today there is a small off-site cultivation program at the Royal Tasmanian Botanic Gardens. There is a collection of seeds banked at the Tasmanian Seed Conservation Centre, and federal and local governments have active research and monitoring programs tracking windswept helmet orchid population health and habitat stability. Nevertheless, the windswept helmet orchid has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 2013, and their population is generally in decline. Our most recent counts estimate that less than 8,000 windswept helmet orchid remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the windswept helmet orchid was compiled from the Journal of Applied Ecology, Volume 52, from TLEOP, Volume 11, from the IUCN, from the New Zealand Plant Conservation Network, from the Papers and Proceedings of the Royal Society of Tasmania, Volume 143, Number 2, from Tasmania Parks and Wildlife Service, from the Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Water and Environment, Tasmania, from the Floral Values Assessment and Monitoring Report, and from Wikipedia. For more information about windswept helmet orchid conservation, please see the Tasmania Parks and Wildlife Service at parks.tas.gov.au. And so now I would like to perform some music in hopes of making space to be in contemplation of the other beings with whom we share our earth, like the Windswept Helmet Orchid. I do not intend to force meaning upon or extract meaning from the Windswept Helmet Orchid. Instead, I want this music to simply express my awe for all life. And so I will pause in the space of sound and reflection, and I warmly invite you to join me. I honor the life force of the Windswept Helmet Orchid. I will commit its name to my record. I am so grateful to have shared time on our planet with this small, strange being. I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished this species. I grieve. So in the name of the Windswept Helmet Orchid, I pledge to reduce my consumption, my carbon footprint, my wastefulness. Let's to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and inactions. I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin and their habitats by individuals, corporations, and governments. I forever pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bad Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other